What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the Firecast. This one is going to have a more somber, sad tone to it. We're going to be talking about a tragedy that has struck the fire service, specifically the St. Louis Fire Department. One day ago in St. Louis, Missouri, firefighter Benjamin Polson was fighting a two-story structure fire in St. Louis, and from what I've read and heard, after the fire was put out, he was inside doing what we call salvage and overhaul, which is where you go in with your hand tools and you pull drywall down, you pull ceiling tiles or you pull the ceiling down, and you pull the insulation out of walls and stuff to make sure there's no hot spots, to make sure that the fire does not rekindle. And from what I have gathered and understand, there was a partial collapse of the structure. One of the brick walls collapsed on top of the firefighter and another firefighter, killing firefighter Benjamin Polson and injuring the second. I don't have a name for the second firefighter at this time. So St. Louis Fire Department lost one of their own members. That was, I believe, 1 day ago. Yeah, 1 day ago. Says the firefighter that passed away was killed from the collapse of bricks and debris, not from the fire. The second firefighter was taken to the hospital. His injuries are unknown. It's a tragedy anytime we lose someone in the fire service. It's a tragedy anytime we lose someone, period. But as a firefighter, it hurts me to read about other firefighters being killed in the line of duty, even though I don't know them. It's a tragic situation, and we need to support the people of St. Louis and the man's family and friends, and especially the St. Louis Fire Department. Tragic situation, nonetheless. And that being said, if I find any credible links for donations, I will add it in the description of this video. That's all the information I have. I can probably pull up an article and see if they have any articles talking in depth, in more detail, but I highly doubt they will, because I believe at this point it's still an ongoing investigation. So the likelihood of them having an article with more information is slim to none. Let's see. There was one released 2 hours ago.
I want some of this. What?
Sorry about that. I have a video I can play, or I can read an article. More than likely, I'm just going to read through the article. KMOV TV, KMOV4 out of St. Louis has an article. A St. Louis firefighter died while battling a fire Thursday. The fire department received a call around noon for a fire at a two-story brick building in the 5900 block of Cody Brilliant Firefighters were able to knock out the fire on the first floor and made their way to the second floor. The fire got too intense and firefighters had decided to get out. As they were backing out, the roof collapsed, burying 2 firefighters. One of them was trapped under a tremendous amount of debris of heavy timber and bricks and took the brunt of the collapse to his person. The firefighter was later identified as Benjamin Ben Polson. You know, that kind of touches home because my name is damn near the same as his. My name's Benjamin too, so, and I'm a firefighter, so you know it's a little weird when somebody with the same name as you dies in the same line of work. Polson worked at the St. Louis Fire Department for more than 2 years. Starting in November 2019, he had recently been reassigned to Engine House 13 in the Hamilton Heights neighborhood. Firefighter Polson was killed from the collapse and debris, not from the fire. The second firefighter was taken to the hospital. The St. Louis Fire Department later said the second injured firefighter, along with 1 other, were treated and released from the hospital. So, non-life-threatening injuries, treated and released. This kind of event weighs tremendously heavy on the entire fire department, St. Louis Fire Chief Dennis Jefferson said. So that tells me that they were not doing salvage and overhaul. They were battling the fire when the collapse happened, which is a extreme likelihood when you're doing interior attack on any fire. The likelihood of having a collapse happen is extremely high. It depends on how much fire impingement you have on that structure, especially the weight-bearing parts of the structure. So your walls that are holding up weight, the weight-bearing walls, your ceiling joists, your rafters, those things are holding up a lot of weight. And if they have a lot of fire impingement to them, they're not going to be able to hold up that weight anymore. They're going to give way and they're going to fall. Now, that was a brick wall that collapsed on him, and a fire has to be hot to make bricks separate from the mortar, which is the concrete that they use to bind the bricks together. And it's got to be extremely hot to make those separate and make a wall collapse. There's no words to describe what the feeling is right now amongst the fire department. Just a terrible situation. Jefferson said they're looking into the condition of the building and what led to the fire and the total collapse, mentioning the department knows some city buildings aren't safe for firefighters to enter. The department, however, always assumes vacant-looking buildings are occupied as people tend to use them for shelter. The St. Louis City Fire Department does a job every day in buildings that many departments consider buildings we shouldn't enter. They made the right decision to let's get out, and unfortunately, due to the condition of the building, they were caught in the collapse, Jefferson said. So this falls back to what I've been preaching and, what I stated in my last episode about the chemical warehouse that's on fire in New Jersey. You gotta weigh the pros and the cons of entering a structure. Especially a structure that has that much fire impingement. Because just from reading that article, it sounds like it was a heavily involved structure fire. And around here, if we have a structure that's heavily involved, we're not sending an interior crew in. Of course, I know a lot of other departments will make different decisions and whatnot, and like I've said, Monday morning quarterbacking, you can sit there and say that this is what I would do 100% certainty, but you don't know until you're there, and you don't have all of the details unless you was there. So I wasn't there, so I don't know what made them decide to send the crew in. Sounds like they got the first floor under control, went up to the second floor, and the second floor is what went to hell and killed that firefighter, which is a tragic loss. But we need to use this for training. We need to use this for our officers that are in charge to help train them to weigh the pros and cons of sending people in. From what I read there, it's saying that that was more than likely a condemned building that was not safe for anyone to enter, including a firefighter while fighting the fire, because it's an older building that's not up to spec and regulation. So it's unfortunate that this happened, and that commanding officer will have to live with his decision the rest of his life, knowing that he just killed that young firefighter. And that's a tragedy in itself. That's something that that man will have to live with until he dies. And I'm telling you now, he will struggle with it for the rest of his life. Did I make the right call? And I'm not here to judge him. I'm not here to say whether he made the right call or not, but I am going to implement my beliefs, what I think I would have done, what I would do, what I know I would do if I was in that situation. Weigh the pros and cons. It's a vacant building that's been condemned. Is there a possibility there are squatters in there? Sure, there's a possibility. But if it's under heavy fire impingement, what's the possibility of them victims surviving? That's what you have to look at. Can we still get in there and get survivors out? If the answer is no, and y'all are hearing some secrets of the fire department right now that not many people hear unless you're in this line of work. If you're going in for body recovery, well, you can wait until the fire's out to go in for body recovery. You do not have to go in while it's still blazing. If it's going to be a body recovery, it's best to let the building collapse like it did, which unfortunately there was firefighters inside when it did. It's best to stay outside and do your defensive attack from out in the yard. So it's just, you got to weigh the pros and the cons on everything you do in the fire service. Does the cons of sending someone in that building outweigh the pros? If it does, do not send them in. Let it burn. Fight it from outside. There are a lot of options that we can make as a firefighter or as a commanding officer or, in the fire service. Was the right call made here? That's not me to find out. They're gonna investigate it, and they will come out and tell you exactly what happened from beginning to end, and they'll make that decision. If it was the wrong call, I'll tell you that officer will be held accountable. It's tragic that there was a life lost, and that sometimes is what it takes for some of our commanding officers to open their eyes and realize, I don't have to do interior on every fire. Luckily, the community that I'm a firefighter in and the area that we serve and the area around us, we have never lost someone in the line of duty in that type of manner. But the question's not if it will happen, it's when it will happen, because it will happen. Every department, I would say, will eventually lose someone in the line of duty. Or for the most part, most departments will, or it'll happen near you or around you. So it's not a question of if it'll happen, it's a question of when, where, and who. So we have several buildings here in the community that we know not to enter because of similar issues. And that's where your pre-plan comes in. These vacant buildings, if they're owned by the city, then why? This is a large department. This is a paid fire department. So they have a lot of staff members that work in offices. Well, they should be going out to these buildings, and this is my opinion. They should be going out to these vacant buildings that the city owns, and they should be looking through them, inspecting them, and putting a pre-plan together, so that way if this building ever catches on fire, here's the plan of what we need to do. Okay, this building's in such rough shape, I don't want firefighters going in. We'll defend it. We'll go on the defensive and fight the fire from the outside. That's what they need to do with all of these vacant buildings. There's St. Louis ain't the only department that doesn't do that. Almost every paid department has vacant buildings in their community, and they do not put pre-plans together for them. And they're vacant. Most of them that are vacant are because they're condemned or they're in horrible shape, and especially in those type of cities. Big cities like that, they have a lot of condemned buildings, and those are the ones you want your pre-plan over. Now, if it was a house that somebody was living in last month and they moved out and they haven't got a new tenant in there yet, more than likely that's going to be a safe structure and it's going to be clean. But if it's condemned, you need to put a pre-plan together on it, and it could save more firefighters' lives. So a lot of firefighters, and this happens in my community where I'm a firefighter at, a lot of firefighters think that the only way to fight fire is inside the building. That's not always the answer. There are a million and one things that you have to weigh. You have to stay proactive during the whole scene and make sure that you are alert of everything that's going on. And that's a lot to handle for commanding officers, for regular firefighters, because even me, if I'm a nozzle man, I still need to be aware of everything that's happening around me. I don't need to just focus on spraying that water out of that nozzle onto that fire. That's not everything I need to. Do I hear a creak coming from the ceiling where the ceiling might be about to come down on me? Is the floor spongy underneath of me? Does this wall look like it's about to fall on me? You have to take into account everything around you. They made the call to evacuate. That means that they had been seeing stuff that they didn't like for a little bit of time. And it's tragic that someone lost their life, but was there something on the outside that could have been seen that could have got them out faster? These are things that they'll find out in the investigation, and they'll release it. And actually, I'm interested to see what they release, because with it being a condemned building, what I would have done is I would have stayed outside. I would not have sent anybody inside, especially if it had heavy fire impingement, which is, from reading the article, that's what it sounds like. And I saw the aftermath of the building. It looked like it burned everything that it could burn, which means it was a hot, blazing mess. So should they have sent somebody in there? That's, like I said, not my decision. But if I was the commanding officer on that scene that day, I would have stepped back and I would have said, okay, I'm on scene. I have a 2-story structure that is condemned, that is under heavy fire impingement, and the likelihood of a survivor being in there is about 0% or 0.1%, which is not a high enough percent to risk a life. So, do I send someone in, or do I exterior attack and just defend from the yard, defend the exposures around the structure, and just fight it from outside until we can get control? More than likely, that's the decision I would have made. I'm not a big interior guy, because once you go interior, unless it's like a kitchen fire, a one-room fire it's in that room and it's not spreading fast, you don't have a lot of fire, then sure, jump in there, put that out, because you're going to save a lot of people's property. But if you roll up on scene and that fire has, say it's a 4-bedroom house, and 3 of the bedrooms, 3/4 of that structure is on fire, what are you saving? You're not saving anything by going interior. Because by the time you spray all of the water, and it's filled completely with smoke when it's that fully involved, there's going to be so much water and smoke damage you wouldn't save anything. So there's a lot of aspects of the fire service that you have to look at, and being defensive is one of them. I know if firefighters watch this, are going to be mad at me for saying that, because everybody wants to go interior, everybody wants to have fun and go play. That's why we joined the fire department. We joined the fire department so we can go have fun and play. But at the same time, if it costs somebody their life, is it worth it? No, it's not. It's not worth costing anybody a life over. So, that being said, it's a tragic situation. Go find the links to donate if they have any. Follow the story and get what the investigation releases, because I'm intrigued to see what the investigation is going to come up with. A vacant building that's condemned catching on fire, I'm wondering if it's arson. That's it. Anytime I hear a vacant building that is condemned catching on fire, that's the first thing that goes through my thought is arson. Because you think about it, if it's condemned, they done pulled the power meter, so there was no electric going to that house. So what caused that fire?
Homeless living inside trying to stay warm, started a fire to keep warm.
I don't know if you heard Jackass over here, but he said homeless living inside, starting a fire to try to stay warm. That's probably what caused it. Now, I'm not saying that homeless man is responsible for that firefighter's death. However, he did start the fire. If that's what happened. I'm intrigued to see what happened. I don't know if they had any thunderstorms going through up there, which, I mean, it's St. Louis, Missouri. It's close to where I live. A few hundred miles. But I don't think they had any thunderstorms going through at that time, with it being pretty much winter. So I'm wondering what caused it. I'm going to follow it and see what the investigation says, and you guys should too. I just think that we need to start instilling into our commanding officers about the exterior options. And hey, yeah, he's paid, and if he disobeys orders, he might be thinking about there's going to be some type of repercussion, but I don't know of any fire departments that are paid that are not unionized, so he would have the union backing him up if he would have said, you know, Chief, I don't know if we should go in this building. This is what I'm looking at, and it's condemned and it's dangerous, but I also know that everybody wants to try to save as many lives as they can in this line of work, so that's why they went in there thinking that if there was somebody in there, they could find them and get them out. But there's a difference between doing a victim search and fighting fire with a water hose. Well, with a fire line, attack line. If I had a reason to believe there was somebody inside, I would have sent a quick, just 2 guys, no hose line, search what's not on fire, and leave what's on fire alone. Get in, get out. We'll fight it from the outside. Once you guys clear out, we'll start throwing water on it. We'll try to control it from out here. If you believe there's a victim inside, that's a good decision to make. There's so many decisions you can make. There's just so much to it. And I'm not saying that the fire department or the commanding officer is to blame. They could have made the right decision at that time. I was not there. I can't say. But we just lost a firefighter, and it's tragic. So please be praying for them. Keep them in your thoughts and prayers, and follow along with it, St. Louis, Missouri Fire Department, and help out as much as you guys can, if at all possible. This is probably by far one of the longest videos, but we'll be having more coming out where we'll be discussing some tactics. We'll be using incidents like these to discuss some training tactics and other things. Now, I'm not a brilliant person. I don't know everything. I know very little, but I know how to plan, I guess you could say. So anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching this episode, and if you want to, you can go find the links to donate and donate to the funeral, which there won't be no funeral expenses. It was line of duty death, but the family's probably going to need a lot of help, and you guys can go find the links to do that. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you on the next episode.